DermBiz episode 12. In this episode, we interview Dr. Tami Cassis of Cassis Dermatology in Louisville, Kentucky. This video has everything. Dr. Cassis comes with 19 years of private practice experience, and she shares everything from starting a dermatology practice in a low-cost manner to assembling a team to overcoming naysayers, marketing, EMRs. Everything is covered in this episode of DermBiz. You're not going to want to miss this one. DermBiz episode 12, Behind the White Coat. Let's get started. Welcome to DermBiz. We're excited. This is another Behind the White Coat edition. We are excited to talk to our guest today. I have my beautiful wife with me today. And we're going to be talking to Dr. Cassis. She owns a dermatology clinic in Kentucky. We're going to go over some details with her, talk about her success. Definitely an OG in the private practice world. And we have her here today. Welcome, Dr. Cassis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you're at the AAD in Seattle. So thank you for taking the time to meet with us today and chat with us. We're going to hop right into it. We know the stringent testing requirements to become a dermatologist. And because of that, you had an option to choose almost any medical field you decide you wanted to. What made you decide to pick dermatology?
That was the big interview question. Why dermatology, right? And I just loved it. When I rotated through as a fourth year, I finally felt like I found my home. It was a variety of patients, men, women, children, young, old. So I felt extremely comfortable, and it was the most exciting rotation that I did. So I knew that it was going to be a career.
Awesome. And
was there anything in your childhood when you were younger that kind of like looking back, and you kind of, backtrack like, wow, like that really made sense. Like, duh, like I should be a dermatologist.
Not a thing. I mean, I didn't even go to a dermatologist. I went to a dermatologist once when I was in college, and the person literally gave me Retin-A and just kind of walked out, gave me Retin-A, and I was like, what? That was a horrible experience.
No.
I mean, I know. I was like, that was weird. And, back then Retin-A like peeled my face off. So I was like, oh my gosh. So when I just the opposite, when I went to medical school, I was a little biased. I was like, I don't want to be that. And then I just realized that it was meant to be and I could do what I wanted to do.
Awesome.
What year in medical school? You said fourth year?
Yeah, fourth year. My fourth year, we were able to do elective rotations. They weren't part of our core curriculum, so we were able to do that. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you remember with med school, like everybody in my med school class, day one, they just said to me, like, you're a dermatologist. And I'm like, what? Like,
really?
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I want to be a trauma surgeon. So it was, they all saw it in me. I just never saw it myself.
Okay. What did you go into medical school wanting to do?
I didn't have a clue. I really didn't have any preconceived notions. My first year, I really thought that I wanted to do some sort of surgery rotation, surgical profession, but I had no idea.
Awesome.
And a question I want to ask you is, you've been in private practice for 17 years.
And you're still smiling.
I've been in private practice for 19 years.
19 years.
19
You're
years.
still smiling.
I know. I laughed when you said I was the OG. I am the old goat.
OG, original gangster.
Oh, right.
Nothing. So the question I have for you is, you even said it, like, it seems like maybe it's a trend now where people want to be more entrepreneurial. And you even said that you started a private practice where maybe it wasn't such an in vogue thing to do. What made you want to start your own private practice? How did you make that jump and get to that point?
Oh, it definitely was not the vogue thing to do 19 years ago. It was just, you joined a practice. That's what it was. You figured out which practice you were going to join. You just did it and you went about your way. I just didn't find my happiness that way. I
Mm.
started it. I did what everybody else did. I did what I was told. And really, very quickly I realized that this is not what I wanted to do. So I went home to my husband and I thought, I think I want to do this by myself. I think I can start my own practice and do this. And thankfully, my husband was just very supportive, and he's an attorney, and he was like, "Of course you should. I know you can." So I just decided I'd do it, and I did.
So did you work for a hospital group, or was it a small practice or a huge
It
private
was
practice?
a small private practice of 5 people, and they were all great dermatologists. It just wasn't what I wanted. It just wasn't the outlook that I wanted, and I knew that if I didn't make the change and go after my dreams, I never would. And so I just decided that I had to bail and I had to go start my own path.
Mm.
What were some of the challenges early on? So you stopped your practice, at least for a lot of younger derms now, they're having to do locums in between. They're having to find other jobs so they can get busy. Like, was there a smooth transition, or you just like, boom, I'm on my own day one, let's go?
Oh, no, it was not smooth. I mean, even though I worked with great people, they were not happy they were not happy that I was leaving. So that was
Mm.
number one, not great.
Mm.
And so it really was, one minute I was there and the next minute I was opening up my own practice. Now, where I practiced was not even built yet.
Mm.
So I had to go through the build out of a brand new building, transitioning from that, renting space. I literally had to be creative that way. I just rented space. I shared space with a pediatrician and an OBGYN that I just kind of knocked on their door and said, "Hey, look, my building's being built. Do you mind if I pay you rent for the next, 6 months?" And thankfully they believed in me and they said, "Sure, we'll
Mm.
make it work. It's a little unorthodox, but it's cool. We'll figure it out." And I did.
Wow, that creativity and that hustle. Where did you get that idea? Because I've never heard anybody doing that. Where did you get that idea from to say, "Hey, I don't have space right now. Mine is being built. Let me just go see if I can work a deal out with some other doctor."
I think just young and just, I just dumb. There's a problem. I'm going to find a solution. And if it doesn't make sense to you, it makes sense to me, and I'm going to let it fly.
Mm. Wow. Um, you mentioned another thing too that really just kind of blew me away when I was looking at some of your pre-interview answers. 30 employees.
I know,
We got to
crazy,
dig.
right?
We got to dig into this. We got to dig into this. Talk
Exhausted.
to me. Talk to me. Coach me. Give me how 30. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
How
it's a
are you
lot.
doing this? And
It's a
you
lot.
don't look stressed out. You look like you're youthful and energetic. Talk to me about this 30
Oh, you
employees.
just caught me in a good day. So when I started, I didn't. I had myself and 3 other people. And then I slowly grew over time. I had 4,000 feet that I built out, and
Mhm.
that was a lot. That was a huge
Yeah,
financial burden. That was a lot to take on.
yeah.
Looking back, I could scream because I wish I could give a talk on how to build out your practice because I totally feel like I was taken advantage of. I just didn't know what I
Mhm.
was doing, but I didn't have anybody to ask, and I didn't know, and I paid way too much for things. And
Mhm.
now I'm much smarter, much smarter, much savvier, and probably much fiercer than I was back then.
Mm.
So I just let it naturally happen as I started to grow and get really busy, and I just couldn't take on the volume. I knew that I would have to, number one, expand space.
Mhm.
I wanted to do cosmetics as well. So I was building my cosmetic practice out, taking on new lasers. So it just organically happened that, 4,000 went to 8,000, 8,000 went to like 15,000 square feet.
Wow.
And then as I grew, I needed help. And so just slowly but surely adding more people on. So now I have a nurse practitioner, I have a physician's assistant, I have 2 estheticians, great front office, great nursing staff, billing. So here we are at
I
about
got so
30
many
people.
questions. I got so many questions, but I'm sure you got it.
So how many square footage do you have now?
Now it's probably about, I don't know exactly, but it's probably about 14 to almost 16,000.
In the same building that you started in?
That's
Okay.
but that was the goal. I knew that I was going to start small. Whether I was able to be successful and build out was going to be the gamble. I didn't know, but I believed in myself, and my husband really believed in me, and so I did.
Mm.
So are you mainly the one? So you're the CEO. I see on your
Mm,
website you have a COO. How
mhm.
much of the daily management task do you still find yourself doing?
Well, we're definitely partners. I mean, I want Beth to do it all, but she runs stuff by me all day long. So I always just say, I don't know, you're the COO. And then I run the other way. Then she'll grab me and say. So I want her to do as much as she can, but she always understands that it's at the end of the day, it's my business. So she runs
Absolutely.
stuff by me.
Did you know her before, or was she someone that you just hired and built that trust over time?
Um, it's funny. Beth and I, back in the day, worked at Ann Taylor before I went to medical
Okay.
school. Before I went to medical school, I moved to Kentucky and I wanted to get in-state residency, so I didn't pay out-of-state residency. So I had to work for a year. So I worked for a year, and I had three. I'm a hustler, so I had three jobs.
Mm.
So we worked at Ann Taylor together, and Beth was my manager, so she was my boss.
Mm.
So then went to med school, did my residency. Fast forward the whatever 12 years it was,
Hmm.
and then I hadn't talked to Beth in some time, but somebody said, "Hey, look, Beth would love to come work in your front office." I'm like, "I know Beth. Yeah, sure. I'd hire her in a minute." I didn't have an interview. I'm like, "I totally know Beth." And then it just organically evolved to where I needed an office manager. The
Mhm.
one that I had had before her, she wanted to stay home with her children, so I just said, "Beth, you got to do this. I know you can. I mean,
Mhm.
you were my boss at one time. I know you can do this." And
Right.
she was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." And so she did.
How many employees did you have at that time when she assumed that office manager role?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't, she's been doing it since before COVID. Um, Maybe 20, 25.
Okay.
Not that, no, yeah, she knew.
Okay.
She knew what she was getting herself into.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I forgot you had another office manager before. I guess the question I was asking is, at what point did you say I need an office manager? What number
Oh,
of employees did you have when you had to hire your first office manager?
probably like 12, and I was just doing everything, and it was
That's
too
amazing.
much, and I was exhausted, and it
That
was
is
just,
impressive.
my husband's like, "You're gonna like lose your mind or drop dead of a heart attack. Like, it's time." And
Yeah.
it was time, right? It was time, and I could afford one, and I finally
Mhm.
understood the business of dermatology, so I was willing to sort of pass that on to somebody else and let me just kind of focus on being the doctor.
Absolutely.
You have a
That's
great website, by the way. It's well
Oh,
laid
thanks.
out.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I have a good team. So my IT people that were with me from the get go, they did my website a zillion years ago, and they just, the OG, they just update it, make it fresh every once in a while. But I really feel blessed that Louisville Geek has done a great job to help me, and they've known me from the get go. I drive them crazy. They call me the purple tiger because I'm so annoying, but they really do it right.
You have a great website.
Shout out to
Thanks.
Louisville Geek.
Yeah, totally.
Um, you mentioned the interesting comments that you got when you got started. People, the naysayers, people saying that it wasn't going to work, you were going to fail. Talk to me about that experience. How did you mentally overcome that? How did you approach that?
It was interesting, right? It just, the stuff that you don't see coming, or the stuff that you don't expect people to say to you, but they do, whether, and they're being honest, I guess, or they're just ignorant. I don't know. But it wasn't just one. I had several that just said, "Hey, look, you realize that women don't do this." And I'm like,
Mm.
"I just can't believe you just said that to me." And, one, back in the day, I mean, I didn't want to take any money. I wanted to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I had to go get a loan from the bank. I had to have a business plan. And I remember I had to go and sit down with bankers and lay everything out. And I literally was in a room full of bankers. And one just piped up and just said, "Hey, look, we just don't think that women should do this, and we just don't think this is a thing, and this certainly isn't a thing in Kentucky." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just said, okay, thank you for your time." And I
Yeah.
got up and left, and I thought, "Oh, to hell with you. Like, I'm going to show you exactly what I can do."
Right.
And
They
then
probably fired you up even more.
oh, it was just unbelievable, but it was what it was. And so then the next bank that I sat down with, they're like, "We support physicians. We love female physicians. We think you guys
Wow.
are great." And I was like, wow, night and day. Like,
Yeah.
thank goodness but it happened. It was really shocking, sad, but shocking.
So let me ask you a question, because I'm getting the sense of your personality as we're listening and we're learning. Do you believe that your personality and who you are naturally is what's caused you to be successful? Do you believe that you have to be like you? Do you think that any dermatologist could also run and operate their own private practice? What are your thoughts on that? Is it a personality thing, or is it something you gotta, what do you think?
Well, I think you need to want it. I mean, there are plenty of dermatologists that are friends of mine that say, I want to show up to work and go home, and that's all I want to do. I want to be a doctor, and that's it. So they should never open up their own practice. They have no desire, and I think that they know that. I just had a little bit of a different drum. I wanted to do it. I believed in myself. And I'm a hustler, and I'm happy to fight the fight, and I'm happy to run on the hamster wheel. I mean, I'm exhausted, but I'm proud of what I've done. So
Yeah.
I think it's worth it.
So you said you have billing in-house. Is
I
that
do.
something you had to learn? Did you ever try to do that on your own initially?
No way. Look, I'll be honest. I couldn't even tell you codes right now. If you quiz me on codes, I'd be like, I don't know. I just know where they are. I just know where they are to click and which ones to click. Like, I don't know. I don't have them memorized in my head at all. I could care. I felt like that was a waste of my knowledge.
Yeah.
So I've had several different billing. I've outsourced it. I've insourced it. I've learned as the years gone by, and currently I have a really good in-house biller. She lives in Texas, so she does it remotely, but I was able to find her because she just was proficient in the EMR that I had, which I thought was really important.
Okay.
And she's doing a great job.
That's awesome. Well, on that note, what EMR do you use? And have you tried other EMRs? And how do you feel about this personal one? Because we're actually going through EMR switch right now.
Oh, yeah. So I am old enough where I had paper charts to start, and they were totally fine. We loved paper charts. They were great. That's what we knew. So I'm old enough I had to go through the transition to paper charts, or from paper to EMR. So there weren't very many back in the day. And then I was also doing cosmetics. So cosmetics and dermatology, you didn't have a whole lot to choose from. So just at one of the derm meetings, and I had to trust some of the people around me, I chose Nextech, which Nextech is expensive. And so it's okay. I just don't know if any other one is any better. I tried to transition once away from Nextech because of the cost. And, we're always having to look for cost savings now, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think that it was I thought it was actually worse. And so I went back to Nextech. But my advice to you is to sample them all out, find whatever one you can live with, and then just choose the cheapest one. I don't think that paying the extra money that I have paid, the amount of money that I've paid over the last 17 years, I don't think it's worth it. I think I should have just stuck with the cheapest thing and learned to like that and gone on with my life. You're going to learn how to do it anyway. Just save yourself the money and spend it somewhere else on something fun.
I would say they all do the same thing. The role is for them to chart, so insurance companies can talk to our office to office.
Right.
I would say we pick one. We have one. I don't know if you heard of Easy Derm.
I have. It just wasn't around back then, but Easy Derm I think is good, right? It's good. It's not
great support system. It's expensive, but they're more expensive ones too.
Right.
So they're all expensive. It's like you pick one that you like and stick with it. But
I think once the hard part is, you got to train your staff and then getting them to switch. And, so even when I was trying to transition to a cheaper one, the amount of pressure and anxiety that it put on my staff, it was terrible. So I'm like, oh, this is not worth it.
So you ended up going back to your old.
I went back. I had to go crawling back. That was terrible. They were like, oh, now we're going to charge you double.
You had to call a rep back again. Like, okay, on second thought.
I know. I actually had that nightmare last night. I was like, we told our current one that we're leaving and we're going. And I'm starting to have a little anxiety. And I had a dream that we had to like email them back. Like, remember when we said we had issues? Can we come
But
back?
listen, unless they have
Oh,
that billing issue,
Yeah. So right now we're having a billing. I don't know with Change Healthcare. I don't know how if you were ever
oh,
affected.
I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't. But wow. Oof.
Yeah. So it really, our billing went through Change Healthcare. So it really affected everything for months that we were like, oh my God, we're not going to make it.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
a lot of it is fixed, but we have a huge Medicare Plus Blue group of Michigan. And
Mm-hmm.
with the change that happened, they have not been able to fix that. And that's a huge portion of our population. So if we can't send claims for Medicare Plus Blue, we're kind of like we have to go somewhere else so we can actually process our claims. So that's
Right.
the reason why we're even considering switching.
Yeah.
Derm is great. They have a great support team, but we have to be able to bill.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So another question I have for you is, as you got your practice started, what was some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you were those early days? When you're renting out space from other doctors and when your build out is just finished. What were some of those early challenges that you faced that may be, a good warning for anybody who's going to be starting their own practice here soon?
Well, just when you think, I think the hardest thing for me to realize is just when you think that you have everything smooth sailing, you've got a good staff, you've got a good, everything's going, something inevitably will change. So the staff member that you loved and the hardest worker that you have moves or wants to stay home with their kids. And so then all of a sudden it's finding the next person and getting them trained. Or whatever your expensive laser breaks. I mean, so you just have to be able to accept that things are going to go wrong and things are going to change, and that's okay. Like, that's just learning to let that roll off your back, and some days you're gonna come home and say, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this sucks, and I'll just go be an employee, and I'll be the best damn employee ever, right? And then you go to bed and you wake up and you're like, no, I can face it. I can do it. Like, let me figure out the challenge. Let me figure a workaround, and we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always joke that whenever something's going too well in the office I'm like, I know something is going to go wrong.
You know what's gonna happen. Yeah, you know.
Like preparing yourself for it.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think the good thing too is both of us, we have those days where you talk about where it's like, just forget this, but we typically don't have it on the same day.
We don't have
So,
them at the same time.
Thankfully, right? Thankfully.
yeah.
What role does your husband play in your practice? Do you get him to come work front desk in the early days?
Is he reviewing
No,
contracts or he's
he is, well, he's an attorney. So that's been a godsend because any legal
That's great.
question,
That's
I
great.
got it for free, right?
Yeah.
And then any time that I had anybody that was going to challenge me on anything, I'd say, no problem, bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah.
My husband would love to tear you to pieces. So
Right.
it just really gave me the strength
That's awesome.
and the backbone that I knew that I had him standing behind me saying, like, I got you. Just go get it. Go get it.
Yeah. That is
And they're
awesome.
expensive. They're expensive.
expensive.
Now I have to pay for it because he's the managing partner of Goldberg and Simpson. There's a plug there, but so now I have to pay one of his younger attorneys. So I have to pay for it. I'm like, dang, it's expensive.
He's big time, he's gotten too big. He's like,
I
I'm not
know. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time.
So what team do you have? So like a lot of me and my friends, we started our practice in 2018, but I'm 10 years out now. They always talk about having a good accountant, having a good bookkeeper, having a good lawyer, having, just like a whole support team that's not just your office staff. What does that look like for you?
Well, it's very important. That's very, very true. I mean, we have gone through a couple CPAs. I have a really good CPA now, but you have to really stay on top. And just like any other employee or someone that you're going to contract out with, you have to understand what they're doing, ask the right questions. Don't be afraid to challenge them because you might be paying for something that there's no value to. Obviously, I have a great legal support around me. I have great IT support because when your IT goes bad, that will ruin your day fast.
Yeah.
So I've sort of built, but I've also been able to, unfortunately, over the years say, it's time for you to go. I'm going to move on and try somebody different, and I just don't feel like I don't feel like I'm getting the value for what I'm
Yeah.
paying you.
Right.
I'm not seeing the value, and it's hard. I mean, nobody wants to wake up and say I got to go fire somebody.
Right.
But you have to be able to do it, and you have to understand that at the end of the day, this is your business and it's your name and it's your responsibility. So you sometimes have to do the things that you just don't want to do.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to do them.
Yeah. You mentioned, I asked you a question about marketing, and you mentioned that, word of mouth is kind of a key strategy for you. Can you share with me your approach to marketing, whether it be word of mouth or conventional, or just, how you guys have done it?
Well, it's very interesting over the last 19 years. Marketing 19 years ago, when I decided that I was going to start my own practice, social media didn't exist, right? And you
Right.
certainly, I literally got made fun of because I put my name in one of like the local magazines, but I didn't know how else people were going to know where I
Yeah.
was or that I started a practice. I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
And my husband said, don't listen to the doctors that are, poo-pooing this. He's like, look, law firms do it. Law firms name themselves after. You can name it Cassis Dermatology. That's okay. And that was weird. Everything was whatever, dermatology specialist or derm this or derm that. I'm like, I'm just going to say my name because how else are they going to, I don't know how else they're going to find me. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And then I marketed in local magazines, and I did television, I did radio. Anytime somebody wanted a free skin cancer screening, I said, sure, I did it. But I had a low budget, right? And then social media sort of took off, but I was still sort of this scared rabbit of, oh gosh, they already made fun of me for this. Why would I do social media? Like social media is weird to me, like whatever. And so now I'm just too old.
So you're not on TikTok dancing?
I'm not on TikTok dancing. I mean, God bless everybody that is. I don't even know how to do TikTok.
Well, the good thing is you don't have to, though,
You
right?
don't have
You've
to.
already
I don't.
established yourself.
Some of us
Yeah,
have to go and dance on TikTok to get the
that's
patients.
okay. That's okay. That's a go dance on. I'd rather have you dance than somebody that's not board certified in dermatology dance to be the expert.
Do you take insurance in your practice?
Yeah. Oh
Okay. Okay. You take everything?
yeah. I mean, I even take TRICARE. I just feel like I know if you sit in meetings, they say, cancel your lowest payer and do all this, but to me, that's like making patients suffer. Like that's not a solution. How about we just get the insurance companies to pay us more instead of like punishing the patient? I don't get that philosophy.
So how do you get insurance
Yeah, that's
companies
what
to pay you?
yeah. We're about to wrap this up.
What trick do you have to get insurance companies to pay you more?
Oh, they don't. I mean, there's no trick to it. I mean, you go and you have to have these weird meetings, and they don't give you any. You just sort of have to find other ways to, cut the bottom line because they don't pay anything.
No, they don't. Yeah. How did you build your cosmetic practice?
That was definitely word of mouth. That was 100% word of mouth, quality of work. I definitely believe in under promising and over producing. And so it just sort of got, and, natural. I just like the natural. You like to look good. You don't like to look overdone. And so that sort of, everybody started to define me that way, that they didn't want to look like they'd had a ton of work done. They just wanted to look as good as they could for their age. And so that was really my motto. I don't want to look weird. I just want to look like, I'm not 51.
Yeah.
Or as good as I can for 51.
You look great.
As we wrap up here, I do have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay. Oh gosh.
So, question number one: what is your go-to skincare routine?
My whole skincare routine?
Your
This
your
will be
go-to,
an hour.
or just
I'm old.
just your go-to. I know you guys have different levels.
There's no go-to. It's like 10 steps.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The guy, Dr. Cassis. It's like, what is
holy smokes. I'm 51 years old. I do like 12,000 products.
Well, you look fantastic.
Thank you. My newest skincare line here's a plug. My newest skincare line that I'm really loving, and it's kind of weird for me to say this, but it's called YSE Beauty. And it's not a typical medical grade. It's a Molly Sims, who is a supermodel, but she's from Kentucky. and she has a really good product. And so I'm really excited for her, and I'm really excited about the stuff that she's coming out with. And she's just sort of trying to make good skincare, not crazy expensive, but kind of glamorous. And I like that. I think that's cool. And I'm proud of her.
Awesome. Next question. What's your favorite way to de-stress after a long day at clinic?
I love to go for walks, long walks. My husband and I will try to go for a long walk if we're not too tired when we get home. And I love flowers. So I have a flower garden that I'll go out and trim flowers, pull weeds. So I love flowers. If I wasn't a doctor, I'm really a frustrated florist.
I'm kind of similar. I love flowers so much. I named my daughters after flowers, Lily and Daisy.
Oh, beautiful.
And our practice is called Lily Dermatology.
Oh, nice. Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I wasn't one too, I think something in the floral world.
Yeah.
Up my alley. Would be up my alley. That's awesome. What is your favorite place to travel? I know you say you love to travel.
My favorite place in the world is Capri, however you say it. That's my favorite place. I don't know. There's something about that I fall in love with every time we go. But I love to try new places. So when I saw that the Academy meeting was here in Seattle, I said, I've never been, so I want to go. And I've loved Seattle. It's great. It's amazing.
2 more questions. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I've done a lot. You mean like scary stuff, like jump off a cliff, or
Well, it could be. It could be
open up your own practice.
Yes,
That could be scary.
That's very adventurous.
Yeah.
Every day is an adventure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to be able to figure it out. Yeah, I opened up my own practice. I've jumped off, cliffs. I don't do too many adventurous stuff because I just think, oh gosh, that's gonna get hurt. It's gonna hurt. And, if I get injured, that's really gonna hurt. So I'm sort of now the one that just cheers people on. But and then I moved. I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin. So when I finished college, I knew that I wanted to go to medical school, and so I packed up my U-Haul truck. I drove to Kentucky and I set up shop and started anew.
So where'd you meet your husband?
My husband, it was a blind date.
Oh, wow.
Cute. Well, I had one more question.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
What about you will your patients be surprised about if they knew?
Gosh, surprised about me. I'm a pretty open book, so I don't think.
I bet they will be surprised about that.
I try to be really honest with my patients and let them talk to me. And most people know a lot about me. I don't think that I've been on the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure now for 9, 10, 11, 12 years. And so I'm fierce, right? I mean, it's a big responsibility and a big role. So it's an honor to give physicians their license, but it's a real wow to have to take them away. So I can be fierce. And I don't think patients have necessarily seen me be fierce. But I can do it.
You have a wealth of information.
Wow.
So where can people find you? Are you on social? I know your website.
Yes, I'm on Instagram, but it's Cassis Derm is on Instagram, and then my personal account, which is my personal account, which I don't want people to find me there, but Cassis Derm is on Instagram, and that's probably the easiest way to find me. That's
okay.
I can understand one social media platform. That's about all I can. That's all I got.
Dr. Cassis, we want to thank you for taking the time. I know you got a lot going on. I'm sure there's dinners to attend and different things that's going on in Seattle right now. And so thank you for sharing your wisdom and time with us today.
I feel like we need more time with you. We might have to schedule a part 2.
Listen,
I feel like we didn't pick your brains.
This was like...
Happy to help. Back in the day,
derm school.
I used to do for the residents when the academy meetings were big. I used to be part of the whole resident. I don't know what it was even called, but I used to give lectures. So I'm happy to. I mean, I train the residents. I'm happy to discuss. I'm happy to let people learn. I didn't have that option. I didn't have anybody helping me. I just had to figure it out. And so I feel like I do have a wealth of knowledge that I'm happy to share.
That's awesome.
I want people to succeed.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you. You're
awesome.
amazing. I love your energy. I love the hustler. I love the fierceness. I love the softer side. You're beautiful. Thank you for meeting with us, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so
Aw,
much.
thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
What other specific topics related to the business of private practice management would you like for us to cover? Please share in the comments below or reach out to us on social media or our email address, thedermbiz@gmail.com. Our mission is to create a movement of collaboration and support amongst physician-owned private practice owners. If you would like to join that movement, again, don't forget to like, share, comment, and please don't forget to subscribe.